So is it over? Are we at the end? Or is this just the beginning? 3 bombshell stories today that we need to discuss. First, dealing with the fact of what our plans are militarily wise when it comes to Russia and how Russia said, we're ready. Secondly, our debt is insurmountable. We're going to talk about a staggering number that shows that I don't know how the dollar can make it through whomever is going to be president next. And then lastly, Trump drops a monster announcement that anyone on the libertarian side, anyone who works for a living and hates to see taxes get taken out, I'm telling you, this is a game changer. If he holds up to his end of the bargain, we could see a stronger America than we've ever seen. But it's going to take us going through a major valley when it comes to our finances. Let's talk about it today. Hey guys, welcome to The Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new to the channel, go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell. Give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, that's okay, but let us know what you think about the content of today's video. Now today we're going to be discussing 3 major points. First off, we're going to talk about the military in Russia and kind of what it looks like in the next coming weeks and months. And again, Black Swan events always happen around election times. Secondly, we're going to talk about our debt and how it surpassed a pretty big milestone that I don't know that we can recover from. And then thirdly, we're going to jump into the Trump announcement. Huge. And actually 2 announcements from Trump. All right, so first let's jump into the Russia story that we need to bring up. Because it talks about our children. You know, when I think about my kids growing up in this world and how they may have to fight for another country, it scares me to death on that aspect. And I'm not going to send my kids over there to fight for another country, especially when I don't understand why we're even fighting for it. Well, before we get started on this, remember, like in this debate, you heard the moderators really hammer in trying to get Trump to say they want Ukraine to win. Yet, have you decided what actually Ukrainian win is? Is it just go back to the old lines? Is it go back to the status quo? Is it to take over Russia? I mean, it doesn't make sense when they say we want Ukraine to win. What they're willing to do is keep funding. The Democrats are wanting to fund more and more death, more and more war. And that is not truly winning a war. Winning a war is getting to a cease and dealing with the fact of building an agreement between them both. Now, let's talk about that was just a side note. Sorry, that was not part of the plan today. But let's talk about what just came out in the news. And I think it's rather disturbing. It says, it is expected that Blinken will announce tomorrow that the U.S. has given the Ukraine the green light to strike deep within Russia. Now, you know we've been giving them certain tools to utilize at the edge of Russia, on the battle lines. Really, we haven't ever said you could go towards Russia. It was more on the lines of where the discrepancies are. Now we're saying we're going to green light them to go straight into Moscow with our weaponry. You don't believe this is an escalation? And again, this goes back to, well, we want peace. America wants peace and democracy for everybody. However, we're willing to send more missiles over there instead of having a truce agreement. 2022, Ukraine, Russia wanted to sit down at the table. America and UK decided to push them away. Now, we're still sitting here at the threat of nuclear war or the threat of escalation to world war. And again, we're just saying, hey, let's keep on using our missiles and now let's move them deeper into Russia because that won't cause any problems. I mean, come on. So Putin responded. He said, by all means, if you do this, you are getting closer to opening up to an escalation of this war. I'm wanting to end it, and now you're wanting to basically start it back. So is it over or is it just beginning? That's the theme of today's video. So then it comes down to, if it begins, and we look at a world war and America needs troops, what about our kids? Is it fair that our kids and our sons and daughters have to go over there and fight for something that really majority of Americans don't even believe in? Sad times. That's one thing you're going to decide in this election. Does Russia-Ukraine keep on going and escalating, or does it not? That's definitive differences in these 2 candidates. So the Trump announcement today, he came out and said no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, which is huge for every one of you. No tax on Social Security, huge. And no tax on overtime. That's kind of the new push, is the no tax on overtime. That benefits every blue-collar worker, every person who is working hard 50 and 60, 70 hours a week to try to make ends meet, to try to make the extra money to cover Christmas or to cover vacations. Instead of getting extra taxed, that money's yours. You've earned it. That's huge. You know, this is the kind of leadership we need. Crazy, over the top, change the system. As I said, is it over or is it just beginning? We need to change our tax basis. There should be no reason that we pay property tax each and every year. I hope Trump nails that one too. There's no reason that we pay tax on money that we've already taxed, like our retirements. There's no reason to pay all these other taxes. I mean, there's like a list of like 40 or 50 taxes that we have to pay. Why? So even though these 3 or 4 may not affect me, I'm not a waitress, I'm not on Social Security yet. I don't work overtime in this capacity. I'm more of a salary worker, and we own our business, so we put the hours in and we don't get paid for those extra hours. Here's the thing though. It benefits America, because then you're making people have jobs and be able to afford living, and it makes America as a whole better. Social Security doesn't pay enough. Well, if we take the tax and all the cuts off of it, then it's allowing it to be open for people to be able to have a little bit more money. Wouldn't you agree? The guys working, I know several guys that work offshore, what they call offshore. Even that's maybe in the Gulf, that may be just on land rigs, and they sometimes work way overtime. And that's where they get a lot of their money. Sadly, they're so overtaxed on it because they make so much more money that it's like, is it worth them working in the first place? A lot of boiler makers and a lot of pipe fitters and welders, they do the same thing. So a blue-collar job may make a lot of money, but if they're overtaxed because they made overtime, it's unfair. These policies are nailing right at the culture of Main Street America. While Kamala wants to tax the rich, will affect blue-collar America and will affect Main Street America, Trump is willing to cut taxes. That is huge, y'all. There's only one candidate wanting to do that. All the credits, all the subsidies, all that garbage, that is all that is sleight of hand, and it's going to end up costing you because someone has to pay your tax burden, and it has to do that. If you start cutting taxes and then cutting the way you spend, it would make a monster difference. Now, I love the announcement Trump made when it comes to both of these new kind of tax policies and tax reforms. Now, one thing it does scare me, I'm just going to be honest with you, it does scare me, is no matter who's president, can they get out of the hole that we're in? There's a new Zero Hedge article that says this is the end game. This is the end. Interest on the U.S. debt surpasses $1 trillion for the first time ever. Exploding August budget deficits to a record high. Record high deficits, record high debts, record high payments. And you want this economy to keep on thriving? You think Kamala's doing a good job? No. It says 2024 was a year of the runaway U.S. budget deficit, which was supposedly supposed to gradually normalize. And after 2 crises this year, the U.S. supposedly ended the drunken sailor spending, but they hadn't. And for a while, it seemed the touch and go that the cumulative U.S. deficit initially overtaking 2023 was insane compared to the last few years. But this year is even worse. So from 21 to 24, the deficit has gotten worse. And every president has gotten worse. Don't get me wrong. But the amount of deficit that we have now is insurmountable. So that means no matter who's president, they're going to deal with some kind of major budget crises. I mean, it's going to happen. Jim Rickards came out and said that it's probably going to be 4 to 5 years before a major collapse. But either way, whatever president's in will probably feel it. And it will probably be to a point where you're going to see chaos that we can't control in America. It says when this happens, an August budget deficit of staggering $380 billion, up more than 50% from $243 billion in July. That's 55% from July. We can't keep spending money, people. And again, they're wanting to send more money to Ukraine. They're wanting to send more money across the seas. They're wanting to fight more wars. They're wanting to keep on giving subsidies to these immigrants. And ultimately, we have no money. We have no money. If you hadn't watched yesterday's video, you need to go back and watch it. about what I talked about because it is a brilliant synopsis of where we're at when it comes to financials. All this means is that the interest payments, the fact that we have to cover our interest will be more than Social Security spending, most likely by the end of this year or the first of next year. I love what it says. It says, in other words, game over. Now, I don't love what it says because of what it shows. What I'm saying is if we don't handle a reset and we do the resetting to something like a gold standard, we go back and we restructure our debt. We go back and we rebalance our budget. If we don't start doing that as Americans to be proactive, we're going to be reacting to a depression like no other has ever seen. Because money is not money anymore. It's paper, especially in the fact that it's based on the trust of the government. Most people don't trust the government. Based on the war, based on our military is not too strong right now because it's completely depleted. And based on the fact of the government having a sound economy, the government doesn't have a sound economy right now. America doesn't have a sound economy right now. Our petrodollar relationship with Saudi Arabia is a little strained because of Middle East. Do we need another 4 years of what we've had for the last 4 years? Quit listening to the talking points. When people say that they don't like Trump, tell them to go look at the statistics of where we have come from 21 to now, and then what the future is going to look like. It's unbelievable. So here again, two policies. We've just talked about the end of one thing or the beginning of another. Kamala says let's keep on staying in Ukraine and work through it and keep giving our tax dollars to it. Trump says he wants to end it. Both candidates want to spend money, don't get me wrong. But Trump is also wanting to bring in people like Elon Musk. Again, the richest man in the world. He didn't get rich by going in piles of debt. He got rich because he was smart. But he's wanting to bring in more people who can help balance a budget. And remember, these two guys, Elon, Trump, they're billionaire businessmen. They worked in the private sector. J.D. Vance, before he was the senator, he was a businessman. What is Kamala, Biden, any of these people been? Mostly career politicians. Every one of them have been elected in some form or fashion. Tim Walz was a teacher, but again has no savings, no money, no retirements. So do we want him over our whole economic view? Come on. You have two ways of looking at things. Trump comes in and says, I want to cut taxes. I want to give your money to you. You deserve it. You've worked for it. You've worked for it. Why do you want to give it to the government for them to frivolously spend away when you're the one that worked till 8 or 9 o'clock that night and got to miss your children from going to bed? Who had to wake up in the morning at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning before your children got up or before your wife got up just to get out to start working to take care of your family. But then to come home and know that 25 or 30% of your money has been taken to give to the government, to give to other people, to not work? Mind blowing. Trump wants to cut your taxes. All the while, Kamala wants to raise taxes on the people that are providing our jobs. So you wanted a raise this year? Nope. Kamala just took your 2% raise because she just cost 10% or 15% more tax on your business owner. You think you're getting a raise this year? So no matter what you think of Trump, he is there for the American people. And his announcement is huge. The fact that we're facing war, the fact that we're facing insurmountable debt. I would rather have someone who has proven to be a leader who had no wars on his ticket and on his time frame, and also has proven to be good with money because no matter what, he's a rich billionaire who's made business work. Even with all the stuff going on, he built a tech platform that goes public and makes tons of money. That's the kind of leadership we need, not Kamala. Guys, let me know your thoughts on this video. Again, our goal is to never frustrate you or make you fear. It's to point you in the right directions. And ultimately, you can prepare all you want physically, mentally, and emotionally, but you need to spiritually prepare. Make sure you realize that Jesus is the answer. If I did all these videos and never really proved to you that our main conservative views and our values really come from the world, I would be completely wrong. It comes from our love for God. And so, the only way that we can get through these kind of crazy, stressing, weird times in our world is to rely spiritually on Him. So if you can get anything out of this video, yes, I want you to learn about money. I want you to think about voting for Trump. I want you to think better about some of the decisions of economics. But more than that, I want you to realize that there's only one way to have hope, and that's with Jesus. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. Please give us a thumbs up. It means the world to me, and it sure helps us spread our message across this platform. God bless.